Hi, welcome back to this series of Yi2 framework. And for this particular video, I'm going to take you through a couple of the most important uh, folders and also just the structure of Yi2 framework project. Okay, so to start off, we have the assets folder. So for this assets folder, you can just click on one of them to see what's going on. So if you have custom CSS, custom JavaScript code that you want to use in your project, normally you would have to create an app asset class which extends the asset bundle, and then ensure that inside the views layout, then based on your layout, in this case we only have one layout called main, you ensure that you register that particular app, the asset class. Okay, so what this will do is that it will ensure that your app has the necessary CSS and JavaScript files that are required to run the app. Okay, so we will talk about much later. And then for the commands, this is for when you are running a console app that is from the terminal. You can create more commands here to ensure that you can run the app from the console. Okay, I think this is ideal in scenarios, for example, when if you are creating an installable app and you just want to run some commands, maybe to initiate the database or any other environmental configuration before the app gets started. Okay, then the other folder is the config folder. So for this config folder, this is where all the configurations for Yi framework are placed, and the most important one is normally the web. So when you look at the web, you will see that first it's loading the parameters from the params file. Okay, and then it's also loading the database configuration from the DB. Then from there, it you can see it's defining a couple of application configuration. And then it returns the merged configuration. Okay, so this is where you actually change most of your configuration, and it's an array. Okay, so this, you'll notice that these are arrays. So have an array config which has ID as the key and then basic as the value. And then we have the components section, we have the alias, we have the bootstrap. So we will be looking at this in depth in future videos. And then we have the controllers. So this is where the controller files are placed. So the controllers will connect the business logic and the view. Okay, and most of them extends the controller. That's the Yi web controller class. So we can move to the next part, which is mail. So for the mail, this is where you create the mail layout and also the mail message. How do you call it? Sorry, the mail message that will be sent to your users in different instances. So we will look at that in future videos. Then we also have the models. So the models, these are model classes which extend the Yi base model class, but in future we will be using the active record because it gives us more flexibility in terms of handling the database. Okay, then we have the runtime. So these are the files that are generated during the runtime. Then we have the tests. This is just for the test background. Then the vendor files that are downloaded by Composer. Then we also have the views folder. So for the views, this is where you put the like theme and also the layout of your application. So we will be looking at it also in future videos. And then we do have the web. So for the web, this is where we have files like the HT access. This is where you put the entry file, which is called, in this case, it's the index.php. You can see it defines the environment. It also enables debug or not. And then it loads the auto loader plus the E class. Then it runs. So basically it runs this E application class, which is a singleton. And so most of the files that you will put in the web folder are actually accessible to the public. So ensure that you don't put any sensitive thing within this web folder. For the assets, this is ideal for, okay, this for now, these are generated by the framework. But if you want to have like accessible images or scripts, this is the right folder where you place them. Okay, so maybe just a reminder, when you are providing the assets within the app asset class, you need to ensure that you are using the correct base path. So you can see this at web, okay, this at web alias is actually pointing to this folder. Okay, so what this class will do is that it will just go to the web folder and then look for this particular class. So if you are using a different path for these files, ensure that you specify them to avoid issues when loading the necessary files. Yeah, so we also have the widgets. So for the widgets, these are small usable codes, and for this one, it's just the alert widget. And yeah, you can preview and see how you can create custom widgets for your app in future. And then we have now these other files that for this case, maybe we might be using some of them. So the composer JSON, this is the file that controls how we interact with the composer, and it also works together with the composer log. So don't edit the composer log file. Okay, it's edited automatically once you run composer commands. So then there's the readme. You can change this stuff just to ensure that it aligns well with what you are doing. So guys, that's a quick overview of the folder or a directory structure that comes by default. And let's see more in the next video. In case you have any questions, remember to leave them in the comment section. See you.